Hello there, fellow human. My name's Andy Gagnon, and I'm here today to help you learn how to play the drum set. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and thanks for putting in the time to learn this great instrument. So you might notice I am not playing an acoustic drum set today. This is an electric drum set, but it's set up pretty much the same way that an acoustic drum set would be set up. I'm on this so you can hopefully hear me talking over the sound of the instrument being played a little bit more easily, and also so that I don't make my neighbors too upset, because we do share a wall with another family here. So let's go over the instruments that we've got today. So we're mainly going to be working with the hi-hat. This pad over here is the hi-hat. That's the two cymbals that have the foot pedal that can also open and close them. We've got our snare drum right here, sort of in the center, and then down here, the kick drum, the bass drum. That's the other foot pedal operated instrument. Got a beater hitting on that drum. Later on, we'll also use the ride cymbal a little bit. This is the bigger suspended cymbal that we play on over here. All right, so this video is designed to go along with a little packet that I'm putting together that has the notation for all of these different basic grooves that we're going to go over. So if you're someone who likes to have the visual for the music to go along with what you're hearing, I would suggest making sure that you've got that with you as well. All right, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about just a basic rock beat. So this is pretty much what I start with any drum set player who's having their first time playing the instrument. So this beat is one that uses two combinations of sounds. And thinking about this instrument as one instrument rather than a bunch of instruments can really help. Our brains, the human brain, likes to think about one thing at a time. So being able to consolidate ideas, kind of mush multiple ideas down into one, can be a really helpful way to let our brains do their best work. So I'm going to teach you two combinations of sounds that we're going to use to play this first rock beat. The first one I'm going to name alone. It's going to be the right side of our body playing alone. By the way, if you're a left-handed person and you have the drum set up in reverse, just swap all of my rights for lefts, all of my lefts for rights. You'll be in good shape. For most of us, though, this will be our right hand and our right foot. So we're calling this combination alone. I'm going to play the right hand on the hi-hat, the right foot on the bass drum. I'm going to play them at exactly the same time. So if you can hear that, the foot and the hand moving at exactly the same time and hitting the hi-hat and the bass drum. We're going to call that combination alone. So try to play a few alones with those two instruments playing at exactly the same time. So alone, 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 alone. Okay, that's one combination. Now, the second combination I want to teach you, I'm going to name together. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the snare drum in with our left hand. We're going to play it together with the right hand instrument. So the hi-hat, the snare drum, the bass drum, all three together. Let's try that. So together, 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 together. Okay, now we're going to go back to alone. Now back to together. Alone, together. Alone, together. Alone, together. Alone, together. Alone, together. Alone, together. And before too long, we've got a little groove going. This is a basic rock beat right here. So alone, together, alone, together, alone, together, alone, together. That combination is going to be the basis for a bunch of other grooves that we're about to learn. So I would suggest at this point, pause the video and make sure that you can do this alone, together, really smoothly. Come back in a minute. Okay, you're back. Good job. So now that you've got your alone together, that basic rock beat going on, we're going to add in our first variation. So variation basically meaning we're going to switch one little thing, leaving most of it the same. So the first variation that we're going to do is going to add in some extra notes in the hi-hat. You can think of these as eighth notes. You might think do, day, do's instead of just do, do's. They're going to sneak in between each of the alone and togethers that we've been playing. So in between each alone and each together, there's going to be one hi-hat note that plays by itself. Here's what that'll sound like. I'll start with my alone, together, and now I'm going to add in that extra hi-hat note right here. So we've still got our basic beat between the bass drum and the snare drum happening. We're just adding in a little extra action in the hi-hat. If you're counting, you might think something along the lines of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The hi-hat is playing all of the notes in that count. The bass drum is playing all the numbers. The snare drum is playing on 2 and 4. If you're thinking do's and do days, it's a do day, do day, do day, do day, do day, do day, do kind of situation. The bass drum playing all the do's, the hi-hat playing all the do days, and the snare drum on every other do. All right, that is sort of a level 2 rock beat, and I want to tell you something. That exact beat is one that goes along with hundreds of super popular songs. So if I'm playing in like a wedding band, say, and we're playing a set that has a bunch of pop tunes that everybody knows and loves to dance to, there are probably at least 4 or 5 songs on that set list that use that exact beat. So if you've got that one solid, you are already well on your way to being an awesome drummer. All right, pause the video, take a moment, get that one down. Hey, welcome back. Okay, so we've got our first couple of rock beats in the books. Now, let's send it back to the disco era. If you don't know what that is, you can talk to an older person in your life and they'll let you know. But this variation on the beat is going to once again change up a little bit of the hi-hat sound. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to move our left foot, our hi-hat foot, up and down at the same speed as our bass drum foot. So it's going to be down on the numbered beats in the count, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and up on all those ands. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and do, day, do, day, do, day, do, day. Everything else is going to be exactly the same as the beat we just played. So the hi-hat is still going to be playing those faster notes, the bass drum still keeping the basic pulse, and the snare drum still on the back beat, 2 and 4. Now I'm going to move my foot up and down. Oh, okay. So this is kind of a disco beat. We can hear the hi-hat pedal being open, makes the top cymbal ring out a little bit more, and puts kind of a cool effect on the beat. Here it is with some different counting. Let's do our numbers here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Here it is with some do days. Sounds like this. Do day, 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 do. All right. Go ahead and pause that video. I'll be here for you when you get this one down. Part of the video. Okay, you're back. Cool. So we've got our disco stuff going on. That is awesome. Impress your family members at your next family reunion that happens to have a drum set set up. Those happen, right? Okay. So this next variation we've got, changes up the bass drum a little bit. So this is the first time we've messed with the bass drum. So if you're looking along on our little packet that we have here, which I also have off to the side here, you'll see the bass drum is going to play on beat 1. It's going to rest on beat 2 where that snare drum plays, and then it's going to play 3 and then rest on beat 4. So I'm just going to count and play the bass drum for you. So the bass drum will go 1, 2, like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Everything else is going to stay the same. We're going to leave the hi-hat closed for this version, just that kind of dry rock sound. So let's build this one up. There's a lot of different tools you can use for practicing these rhythms. I won't be able to show you every tool on every rhythm, but know that you can mix and match. If there's a tool that we use on one pattern, you can totally apply it to learn another. Okay, so I'm going to start with just the hi-hat and the bass drum. Leaving out the snare, making it easier on my brain to think. So if we're thinking counting here, we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, the snare drum is going to play its favorite spot. That's 2 and 4. So you can imagine in your head where that's going to be. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Oh, lost my stick. Hey, happens to the best of us. All right, you get the idea, right? So bass drum, 1, 3 and. The cool thing about this variation is you can come up with your own patterns too. So you could change the bass drum to be something else. Leave the sticks doing the same thing. Maybe it's, oh, right? You can mess around with it. Once the hands are solid and the foot can kind of do its own thing, the world's your oyster. Okay, hey, let's check out a variation with the snare drum now. So I'm going to go back to having the hi-hat and the bass drum on kind of their standard rhythm. Hi-hat doing those eighth notes, snare drum doing quarter notes. On this one, the snare drum is going to sneak in on an offbeat 16th note, 2E and the of 2. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4. A good exercise to prep for this one is practice playing single strokes between the hi-hat and the snare drum. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. That's going to help us set up for this little moment where the hi-hat and the snare kind of talk to each other. They go back and forth. So here's that beat all put together. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and. Nice. All right. It's probably going to take a minute. Go ahead and pause that video. See if you can get it. All right, nice job. Welcome back. For this last little chunk, we are going to check out sort of a swing style. So this might be something you would play with a jazz band on a tune that has more of that old school straight ahead swing kind of feel. So for this one, we're going to go all the way back to that alone together beat, the very first one we worked on. Alone, together, all right? And what we're going to do is we're going to move the right hand from the hi-hat over to the ride cymbal. Same exact pattern, I've just changed which instrument I'm hitting with the right hand. Now we're going to add in a swung eighth note on the and of 2 and the and of 4. This is one you really want to listen to. So hearing me do it will be helpful. I would suggest listening to some great drummers like Max Roach, Art Blakey, the drummers for the Ellington and Basie bands. All good places to hear this style in context with the band. For now though, here's what that swing sounds like. So those offbeat eighth notes, the ands, are a little bit late. How much later than the downbeat? Well, that depends on the feel of the song. This can be a good one to practice just the ride cymbal by itself. Ding, ding, da, ding, ding, da, ding, ding, da, ding. You can do-day it. Do, do-day, do, do-day, do, do-day, do. You can count with numbers. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. That bass drum and snare drum just doing the same thing. Worth noting, the bass drum and snare drum can be a little bit quieter than they are in the rock style. The most important instrument here is the ride cymbal. That should probably be the loudest sound. I would make the bass drum and snare drum quieter rather than make the ride cymbal louder. All right, for this last variation, we are going to switch the backbeat over to the hi-hat with the foot pedal. So I'm going to stop playing the snare drum rhythm on the snare and play it with my foot. Here we go. Yeah? Okay. This is more of that traditional kind of big band swing or bebop swing style. With the hi-hat taking care of the backbeat, eventually when you get a little more advanced, you can start throwing in little ideas with the snare drum. So it's cool to have your left hand freed up. Now, a good thing to practice here is just the feet. It's a little bit funky because your feet are moving at different speeds, right? The bass drum foot is moving a little bit faster than the hi-hat foot. So a good thing to do is to move the heel of your hi-hat foot down in time. So heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel in the hi-hat, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. That'll help you stay in time and swing. All right, pause the video, go listen to many, many hours of excellent swing music, and then try this groove out. We'll come back and wrap it up. Hey, you're back. Okay, this last thing I wanted to do was just kind of show you some of these grooves in context. So I've got a little pre-recorded song that comes with the little drum kit here. So we're gonna fire that up and try some of these rock grooves out so you can hear what they might sound like with a band. So hopefully the levels will be okay for you and we'll have a little fun here. Whoa, that sounds pretty fun. All right, let's try our basic rock groove with that. Yeah. Alone, together, alone, together, alone, together. Let's add some eighth notes. Okay. Cool. Let's see. Why don't we try the disco thing? Maybe not quite the right style, but it'll be fun. All right, here comes some disco stuff coming up. 2, 3, ah. All right, let's try some bass drum variation here. Cool. Let's try the snare drum 16th note thing. Yeah. The great thing about this groove is that you can keep expanding on it beyond what we tried today. So let's try messing around with it. Let's see where we can go with it. Bass drum.